Welcome back if you're returning. Well, I'm finally back. It's been a couple of weeks. I was quite poorly. I had an infection, thought I was getting over it, and then got another one worse. So, taken time to get better. This video is a little longer, so bear with me. There's a couple of things in here that I've been working on over the last few weeks. There's a couple of sneak peek Halloween items, but all in all, it's mostly fall. I've had a chance to sort of go over what I've been working on, what I'm going to be working on over the next couple of months. I've popped in some photos. This was the last fall at my last house, and I'm definitely veering towards less commercial and more individual. So with that in mind, this is part 2 of our Moody and Timeless fall decor. I've incorporated some thrifting and did a little bit of shopping in the States. So this is all going to be coming up in this video. Enjoy. So I had been shopping over the border. We live quite close to New York State, and hadn't been shopping since before COVID, so took a day and we went and did some mostly craft shopping, picked up some great little items, but on the way back we did some thrifting. This was back in Ontario. Found this beautiful little owl for 50 cents. I got to admit, I complain about not being able to find bargains and how prices are going up, but I'm really lucky. I still do find some great little items. So that little owl I thought was wonderful and certainly felt very fall and autumny. This little urn, 75 cents. I mean, I don't know who was pricing this day, but thank the Lord for them because they were great. This is lovely. I love the colour that it is, so I won't be changing that. Found this little whisk with the wooden handle. Loved it. 50 cents. I'm going to put a cup hook in the end of it and hang it up in my kitchen. Found this pineapple. I thought this was really lovely. Again, I love the colour. Very autumnal. And I mean, who doesn't love a pineapple in their decor? It's supposed to be a sign of good luck, so I had to pick that up. I don't think I'll be doing much to change it. I just like the colour, love the shape, think it's great. This was something I picked up a little while ago. This was, I think, $3. It's a bit garish. I don't like the little jewels on it, and I find it very, very gold. So I will be, $3, there we go. I will be toning this down, and I've got an idea for a little shelf in the bathroom with a couple more thrifts that I've made in the last little while, but that'll be coming up in an upcoming video because, like I said, there's a lot of content in this video. It's nearly running to an hour, so for all my die-hard followers, I think you might enjoy it. Others might find it a little bit it runs long, but you know what, I do sometimes sit and watch other YouTubers and I think, I wish it hadn't finished yet. I could do with watching this for an hour, so hopefully you think that. Found this little bush for $1. Love the colours, love the leaves, love that it's got a kind of a raggedy feel about it as well. So I found this little mirror, $5. It was originally from HomeSense for $49.99. It's got quite a little bit of damage to it, but I thought I might be able to. I was either going to give it one good new paint, but then I thought, what if I try and give it rather than cover it up, make it look like it's part of the design. So I mixed 3 colours. I got a black, an orange, and like a coppery colour, which had like a bit of glitter, almost like a rub and buff. Mixed them all together and it came out with like this greeny colour, which had a little bit of iridescence to it. And what I did was I covered up all the little patches where the paint was missing, and then over some of the heightened areas, and it really gave a feel of like a verdigris. So this was the gold little shelf. I'm not including this finished article in this week's video because there was so much going on, but it is going to be part of next week's video. I painted it with black chalk paint, and then as you can see I got a damp cloth and kind of took some of it off, rubbed it in, and then I took areas where I just had a damp cloth and just relieved some of the gold paint. So It's kind of where I want it to be, but hopefully it'll be in next week's video and you'll see the completed shelf. This little pineapple is, I'm just so pleased with how the colour turned out. What I did was I took the same kind of verdigris greeny paint that I put on the other mirror, and I just put this on the stem just to give it a little bit more of a green stem feel, but it's also got like a bit of an iridescence to it, so that's just going to be I'm using this just for my decor. So if you remember, I picked up this little lamp in a set for $1 a couple of weeks ago at a church sale. It's a wooden base, it's hollowed out. You pour the oil inside and this works perfectly. I took this gold leaf rub and buff and I wanted to add it to the brassy pieces which had tarnished. So you can see I've just taken a little brush and I'm painting all around these just to brighten it up. Now it's very subtle, but it just makes it look that much better. And again, once I've lit this, it is so beautiful. It gives such a lovely glow. Again, working order, $1 from the church sale, and I love the wooden base, and I'm just going to leave that. I would have liked it if it was a different tone, but I think I'm happy with how the gold turned out, so I'm going to leave the rest of it exactly how it is. This little bag I picked up from Hobby Lobby. I was, as I said, I was over the border shopping for a day and found some beautiful things in Hobby Lobby. I'd been looking for something like this for a little while, but I just find it so terribly expensive. Something like this I've seen in Canada would cost me anywhere between $20 and $50. I found these in Hobby Lobby, a bag of 9. 3 different sizes and 3 different colours, and it cost me $6.99. You've got to give it to Hobby Lobby. What they do is very good and they do it very well. So I took an existing cloche, and this is something that I've made a couple of years ago in a previous video. It's a big glass cloche, and I'd have butterflies in it, I had Easter eggs in it, and this time I'm going to put the mushrooms. I took kebab skewers and I cut them to different lengths and then just stuck them in the base, which is like a styrofoam that's being covered in this lovely paper. I actually thought of maybe covering the paper in the greenery, but I thought no, I just like to keep it this way. That way I can change out whatever I want to display in this cloche, and these little mushrooms are perfect for the fall. Whilst I was in Hobby Lobby, I grabbed this little bag of acorns. It was $8.99 and there were 40 acorns in the bag. I decided I wanted to paint them gold, so I used the rub and buff for that. I also grabbed this bag of leaves. I think these were either $4.99 or $6.99. And I decided I'd seen a wreath on Etsy which was beautiful but quite expensive, and I just knew that I could do this myself. So I grabbed the piece of white roping that I'd thrifted a couple of weeks ago for 50 cents, cut it to the length of the window that I wanted this to go over. Then I snipped off the little stems off the leaves, added a bead of glue and added in these tiny little pegs, clothes pegs. I also thrifted these a few weeks ago for I think 50 cents, and I got a whole bag of them. So what I'm going to be able to do once this is done, I've got 2 different sizes of leaf and I'm going to alternate them across the rope, and that way I've got a little garland that is actually interchangeable. I can add more florals to it, I can add more leaves to it, I can move them around, I can make this fall, I can make this spring. So it's a great little idea. Like I said, I've stole this idea off Etsy, but I've done it for a fraction of the cost, and I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody on Etsy. You know, you're making a living, and the work that you've done is beautiful, but I'm just showing you how easy it is to do it yourself. I also picked up this bag of leaves from I think this was Dollar Tree in Ontario. Probably last year. I found them in the bottom of a 4 box. I got the same rope that I'd thrifted, tied a little knot in each end, and then just alternated these oak leaves. I also took a few little acorns and added them onto the oak leaves, and this again is another little bespoke garland for fall. So pleased with how this turned out. I'm going to do this again in the winter. I'm going to use holly, ivy, berries, some greenery, and do exactly the same thing. I'm going to put the little pegs on the back and then move them around. This way they're sort of interchangeable throughout the seasons. This is one of my favourite vignettes. I love the rustic tray with the books and the little brass bowl with some little acorns in and the mushrooms, and this owl. What a find, especially for 50 cents. He's really got a lovely feel to him, and I think he'll go right into the Halloween season. The little pops of colour with the mushrooms, but those leaves just scream fall. I love how these little mushrooms look in the cloche. Again, the pops of colour certainly lend themselves to the fall season. Can you believe this mirror? You'd never know there was any damage on it, and the colours are gorgeous. These little touches of the leaves here and there just add enough and bring enough to the room without being overpowering. It's really nice little touches like this that introduce the season just around the house, and little pops of colour that sort of indicate the fall and the autumnal look. I wanted to make a pillow. I had this lovely piece of fabric. It had all the right colours in it. So I've cut a piece it's an oblong. As you can see here, I'm making a little channel at the bottom, a channel at the top. I'm not sewing this, I'm going to glue it because it's going, it's just for the season, and I couldn't be bothered to get my sewing machine out. So I'm making a channel from the bottom all the way around, channel at the top all the way around, and then I'm going to feed a ribbon through both ends, and so it'll gather up. Once that's done, I'm going to glue it up one side, gather in one bottom piece like I've done here, you can see, and then I'm gluing the sides together so that I made like a little bag, gathered up the bottom, and then I'm going to stuff it with stuffing. Then I'm going to pull the top, and so I'm making like a tube shape, and then I'm going to feed some ribbon through it to pull it together to make a pumpkin shape. it's all stuffed and full, and you can see now when I gather the strings together, you can put elastic in here, I had the ribbon. Pull it nice and tight. You can cover these up with either another piece of material, or I'm making a little stem at one side, so get it really tight, tie it up, and then we're going to take more ribbon and thread it around to create the channels that you get on a pumpkin. You can see I've done here, I've glued the end of a piece of ribbon to the end of a long thin paintbrush, and that's so that I can force the paintbrush up through the stuffing, and it allows me to pull the black ribbon through. I'm going to join two ends together, tie them up tightly, and then move that little knot back inside the inside of the pillow, and I'm starting to get sections, you can see. So I'm threading the ribbon up through the stuffing, pulling it out through the top, and it's creating little sections, which gives you that nice pumpkin shape. So all the little sections are done. I'm going to take a little piece of wood and glue it into the top of the pumpkin, which is going to give me my stem. Then I'm going to take a little bit of wire and a leaf, wind it the wire around a pencil, and stick the leaf to the end of it to give you that little pumpkin vine look. And then I'm taking another little leaf and just sticking it to the bottom to cover the hole there. You can see I'm just out of camera range for that one. I've taken this nice piece of bendy wire, wrapping it around the glue stick just to get that vine shape. I'm sticking the glue in the one end to the little stem, and the other end I'm gluing to a little leaf. I love the shape of the oak leaf, and considering I had a little bag of the acorns, I thought it would be really nice to make a little oak leaf wreath. So I had thrifted this material a couple of weeks ago. I made a stencil of the shape of the leaf that I wanted, and then went ahead and cut a whole bunch of these out. And then I have a little wreath form that I picked up while thrifting for 25 cents, and I'm going to add all these together and make myself a little oak and acorn wreath. All these little finishing touches. I have been digging out fall items. I've grabbed some transfer wear in those lovely colours. I've got some blankets and bedding that need to go on the beds. I've got some artwork that's got that autumnal feel. So next week I'm going to be having a little bit of a fall home tour, just to show you all the little things. There's a few things that I've been working on over the last couple of weeks that I'll be showing you as well. And then after that we'll sort of get into looking at some Halloween decor that I've been planning. been picking things up again over the last little while to add into the Halloween decor. So stick around next week and you'll see what's coming up. Well, Halloween seems to be coming to the stores earlier and earlier, so I'm going to last week I made a bit of a start on the Halloween, but here we go. Picked up this decanter, I think it was under $1, and I wanted to give it the look of melted wax. So as you can see, I've taken my hot glue gun and I'm starting at the bottom and pulling the glue up and then doing the opposite. I'm also doing the same to this little Thrifted candlestick. And it does give the appearance of melted wax. Once this is done on all 4 sides of the decanter, I'm going to be giving it 2 coats of black chalk paint, and I'm going to be doing the same to the candlestick. I'm leaving the wick on top, like where the flame is. I'm going to leave that because that does light up and gives the appearance of a flickering flame. But you can see I've started one end, I'm waiting for that to dry, and then I'm going to flip it over and paint the other end so that everything's got a really good coat of black chalk paint. I have this little apple and I want to give it the appearance of being a poison apple, so I'm taking the same glue gun and I'm making the shape of dripping, whether it's liquid, and then I'm filling it in with more hot glue, and then I've put a little hook in top of it just so that I can hang it up. I'm going to be putting this in a little cloche. So as you can see, I'm giving everything 2 good coats of the black chalk paint. I'm also going to be painting the apple and the poison part of the apple. Once this is all done, I'm going to be going over it with either rub and buff, or I'm going to make myself a poison colour to paint on the top of the apple. Here I've got a little wooden base that I've put a little hole in. This is going to be the cloche that holds the poison apple. So I've got a piece of wire that I've bent into, you can see it almost looks like a little hook. I'm making the hole a little bit bigger and I'm going to glue the little hook into the base, and then I'm going to suspend the apple from this once it's all glued, and I'm going to put the cloche on top of it. So I've given everything 2 coats of the black chalk paint. I've gone over it with a little brush and I've got like a bronzy colour. You can see it's a very light touch, and then I'm just touching the paint on the raised areas. If I've put too much on, I go back in with my black paintbrush and just cover it back up again so it doesn't look too bright and gold. I have got a little cloth that I'm using just to take some of it back so that it's not too glaring. I'm also going to be doing this with the candle, just on the raised areas where the candle wax is. So as you can see with this one, I've just got a little bit of rub and buff on my fingertip and I'm just rubbing it up and down the candle wax. I'm also going to be covering the wick at the end with this, just to give it that nice little glow once it's lit up. So, do you remember these little boots that I picked up a few weeks ago thrifting? They are going to become my witch's boots. So, what I did was I got some air dry clay. This is just the one from the dollar store, and I've broken off 2 pieces and I've sort of made them into like a cone shape, and then I've pushed them onto the end of the shoes to give that curled toe appearance. I'm pushing it with my fingers and moulding it, obviously. I've done one and I'm just matching them up now to get them roughly the same shape and size. I've got a little knife that I'm using to cut them level, and then I'm adding a little piece of trim that matches the trim that's already existing on the boot. So you can see here, I'm just rolling out a little piece and I'm going to duplicate the pattern of the trim on the boots that's already on there, and then I'm going to add that to the extra little piece that I've added onto the front to give us the curly witch's boot. And then once that's all dry, I'm going to paint them all black. Now, what I find when I'm using this clay, if I keep it quite moist, so if I keep wetting my fingers, it gives a smoother finish, and it also stops the cracks from coming when it's dried. So there's the boots. They're not identical, but they're close enough. And then once I've left them to dry overnight, you can see they almost look like concrete. So I've left them to dry overnight, and this is the next day, and these are rock solid, and you can see I've got the little trim piece. You're not going to see the bottom, so it doesn't matter, but everything is 100% solid there. I'm going to take the laces out because I'm going to be putting some black ribbon in place of the laces. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start by painting the boots with black chalk paint. So as I was going, most of the boot is leather, but there's a material piece as well which wasn't taking the paint very well. So what I did was I had a can of black spray paint, which is I'm going to be using on another Halloween project. Just took them outside and gave them a really good spray with this spray can, and they've turned out brilliant. Once they were dry, I gave everything one quick coat, and you can see they just look like little leather boots. I had this lovely black ribbon that I've thrifted a while ago. I made a little hard piece on the end with some scotch tape so that I can thread them through the lace holes. You can see I've just cut the ribbon, put a piece of tape on the end so I can thread them through the as I said, I can thread them through the laces, and then once that's done, they are ready for display. Well, they turned out so well, and I found this little broom for 50 cents while I was thrifting, so I've added that to it. I might make that a little bit bigger for my actual Halloween display, but wow, so happy with how they turned out. So let's have a look at everything I've crafted and thrifted so far for fall and Halloween.